Hey, I'm Jason Fitzgerald, the head coach of Strength Running, and you're watching episode 16 of Q&A with Coach. All right, today we are diving into the concept of base training and whether or not you can spend too much time in a base phase of training. Now, base training is what a lot of coaches refer to as preparatory training or foundational training. It's the beginning phase of a training program that gets you ready to do the more specific work that's more targeted towards the goal race that you are training to run. So if you're training to run a marathon, you're going to be doing very specific work in the later stages of that marathon training program. But the base phase is what you do early in a training plan. It's what you do to help yourself get ready for that specific work. And so let's take a look at today's question from Francis.
Do you think there's such a thing as too long of a base phase with no goal race in a plan?
All right, well, this is actually a fairly straightforward question and answer. Yes, you can spend too much time in the base phase of training. Okay, thanks for tuning in for episode 16. No, just kidding. I'll go into a little more depth here. Of course, yeah, there's obviously too much time you can spend in base phase. You want to spend 3 years in a base phase of training. You do want to limit it to about, somewhere between 12 and 16 weeks max. And if that includes 1 to 2 weeks of recovery after a previous training cycle, then maybe the 16 weeks is more appropriate. But 12 weeks is another high end of the maximum amount of time that you want to spend in a base phase of training. Okay, and the reason for this is that when you're in a base phase of training, the workouts are not super challenging. The workouts are not specific to any goal race that you might be training for. And so you are only working on a select few areas of your fitness. And so necessarily you're neglecting other areas of fitness. And so a lot of runners work on general endurance or maybe strength during a base phase of training, and that's fantastic. However, you do tend to lose other elements of your fitness during base training. Most notably, more neuromuscular adaptations. This is the communication between your brain and your legs. And you can maintain some of these positive adaptations by doing regular strides, by doing hill sprints, running drills, plyometrics. But of course, not all those things have a place in the base phase of training. You don't really want to be doing plyometrics in the base phase because, just like grueling workouts or, sprinting during very challenging workouts, they do tend to get you peaked and ready to run at your best very quickly. And that's something that you want to include later in the training cycle, closer to your goal race. Another important thing to consider is that when you're in the base phase of training, you're not racing, you're not doing any really hard workouts, challenging workouts, and so you tend to lose some of your mental edge. Your mental toughness starts to erode the longer you spend without doing some of that really, really hard stuff. And, just like any skill, it takes practice to develop. You really have to work on it for it to become something that you're truly great at. And so, a lot of the runners that I coach who are doing shorter races, I don't like a 2 or even a 3 race season. If you're training for the 5K or 10K, you can have a season with 5, 6, or maybe even 7 races in it within, say 8 to 12 week competition period of your training. And this is really important because racing is a skill. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And, it's very difficult to do that if you're very rarely uncomfortable. You need to sort of callous yourself to that and become even more comfortable with the fact that racing hurts. There's no way around that. And you really have to challenge yourself frequently to get used to it and to actually excel at pushing yourself to the limits of your potential in any given race. And so if you spend too much time in a base phase of training, you're not going to be doing the workouts and races that work on that mental toughness skill. So I don't recommend staying in a base phase of training for longer than somewhere between 12 and 16 weeks. Okay, that concludes episode 16 of Q&A with Coach. Big thanks to Francis for asking his question. This was a really interesting one, and one that I actually struggled with post-collegiately and at very frequent times during my own running career, simply because I wasn't forced into a race schedule that I had to do because I was on a team, whether that was track or cross country. And so you tend to fall into this kind of perpetual base phase of training all the time. You know, you're running a lot maybe, but some of the workouts that you're doing are not incredibly challenging. You don't race as much than if you're on a team or you're part of a club or something like that. So it's something that, you know, I recognize as a problem for many recreational runners, just like myself, who are, you know, just kind of competing by themselves and working on their own personal goals. So I definitely want to challenge more of you to run more races. And by running more races, you're going to be forced into structuring your training. And so, you know, we have a season planner worksheet on strength running that you can download. I'll put a link up to it somewhere around here. And that'll give you a framework for thinking about how to schedule your season, including the base phase of training. And this will include, you know, tune-up races, how long to plan your season, what distance tune-up races to include. And I think it'll be really helpful to give you a very high-level idea of how to schedule all that within your training program. All right. Again, I'm Jason Fitzgerald of Strength Running. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Q&A with Coach.